guys, welcome back to another dating tip episode. So today I have Pablo with me again. We are actually responding to a request we received, which is interesting. So one follower sent me a request asking if we can do a video about interracial dating. So I find it quite interesting, so today we want to do it. Pablo and I, we are not really interracial couple. So
because I'm half Chinese already, but yes. I'm also half Latino, but I was born in America, so I consider myself mostly American, but I grew up around a bunch of Asian people.
Yes.
Culturally, I'm like Asian American, but I also joined a Latino fraternity to get back to my Latino roots in college, so
he's half and half. I am Chinese, grew up in Taiwan, but we have very different cultures. So I would say we are half intercultural and half interracial couple. We want to share how it feels like when dating someone from different culture, different race, and we are going to cover 3 main areas when you're looking outside your comfort zone. And we are going to share some pros and cons in those areas.
And I'm gonna cover 3 tips, taking over here, 3 dating advice tips for people who are looking to date outside their culture or outside their race. We're covering dating interracially, but in our specific case, I feel like our intercultural dynamic is more like dating an American person. I represent America here. America. MAGA, make America great.
And I am representing Asian people. So if you're Asian and you're looking to date someone,
the best people I've ever met
from America, then I guess this video is for you.
Better than anyone.
If you want to hear our dating stories, how we live with our differences, just keep on watching. So the first part, I want to cover the language challenges that we have. If you are dating someone from different race, different culture who speaks a different language, I would say that's a big plus. Because you will, since you guys spend so much time together dating, your language skill is going to progress and improve a lot. I have to give him credit because we have a rule that English is my second language. My first language is Mandarin. I told him that whenever I say something that's grammatically incorrect, he has to correct me right away. That's how I learn quickly. And sometimes he will correct me so much and to a point that I got mad. But I'm still very grateful,
just doing what you requested,
that he has been, correcting me and helped me improve my English skills. Helping me. See? The only con I can think of is, because everyone has different language level. And if you're dating someone who has very limited vocabulary, it might be difficult. I remember you told me...
I dated a girl who came from Korea and she barely could speak English that well. It was just enough for us to kind of have a fun time together and go out together. Mm-hmm. And laugh about things and hang out. But I think if we had gotten to a point where there's a relationship where you really want to talk about your feelings, your emotions, or I don't know if it would have been possible. We didn't really end up dating that long. At that level, it takes a lot of work. And since she's learning English, I had to slow down and think about the easiest way to say something. That she doesn't know every single vocabulary word there is, and there's so many different words to describe the same thing. And sometimes I throw words out at you and you're like, yeah, I think you learn one word and one new word every month. I'll use a word randomly and she'll be like, did you know that's a GRE word?
That's a GRE word. Or from my TOEFL class. One funny thing I want to mention is sometimes I would tongue slip and speaking Chinese to him when I was rushing or unconsciously, and he would go huh? I know that happened to my other girlfriend who had interracial relationship. The other day we were driving and I was...
Because it's a critical, time sensitive issue. It's she's telling me to turn right in Chinese. How do you say?
靠右.
And I'm like, what is that? What? Why are you going crazy? And what do you want me to do?
And that happened a lot. My girlfriend, she would ask her husband to turn off the alarm in Chinese. And the husband would be like, babe, I didn't understand what you're talking about.
How do you say turn off the alarm?
你可以把闹钟关掉吗？
可以把闹钟掉吗？
And the second area we want to cover is about culture and living styles.
That's a big one. You might be dating somebody that's from a different culture, but you guys don't live together. Mm-hmm. But maybe you're dating somebody from a different culture and you do live together. Then like you're really gonna find a bunch of differences.
Yeah, sometimes you might think that you are a open-minded person, but a lot of times we totally underestimate how those differences could affect our life or the living style that you already have.
But living with somebody, it's not just for interracial, intercultural couples.
That's true.
Like every family is like a little culture too. So like if you're both American, but your family's raised you with different habits, and then all of a sudden you're together, that's kind of like a culture shock for the both of you in a way. Real intercultural couples have to deal with like the habits of just being human differently and their culture. So
like one common difference between an American family and a Chinese family is that Chinese people, we take shoes off when you enter the house. Thankfully, Pablo's family,
well, see, this is where me being an American, I am an American, but I grew up around a lot of Asian people growing up. So going over to people's houses, it was just like always assumed like, oh, do I take my shoes off?
Oh.
But I think just not being fully Asian, being from two different cultures already, I'm always kind of just like mixed up in the head. So
food is also another big issue. Like when we just met, Pablo was very used to drinking soda, eating pizza, burger. You know, these are some stereotypes, but that's how he was. But me, on the other side, I'm more used to like Chinese cuisine where a lot of veggies are involved. So living together, his diet has got a lot more healthier. Another funny thing is that I think Asian people, we are so used to drinking warm water or hot water versus icy drinks.
I feel like this is a big American thing that I've noticed.
Icy drink for Americans. He was shocked like when he came to my apartment when we just started dating.
I was like, oh, can I just get a little bit of water, a little bit of some water?
I was like, yeah,
I'm
sure.
so thirsty. Can I get some water? And then like she hands me the water, and I'm like, oh my god, I need a drink. And then I'm just like, you know, refreshing cup of water. And it's like, this is burning hot. What's going on?
And I didn't notice until he was so like dramatic about my water.
Americans love ice.
Another difference for living styles is, actually this is more culture. Like Chinese people, we are kind of like more superstitious versus a lot of Americans. So for example, when we are apartment hunting, we don't live close to, if we can choose, we don't live close to the cemetery area. And I remember one time when I was apartment hunting, I saw this great price and great location and great layout. But then I realized, oh, it's very close to cemetery. Actually, in the back, it was a cemetery. And I called him up and I was like, oh, I really love this location. And what do you think? And he said, I don't think that's a serious problem. My good friend, they live close to a cemetery. And then I thought about it and I was like, I just couldn't do that. He looked at me like, is that that big of a deal, girl? And then I was like, you just don't get it. Like, we just don't feel safe or feel good living close to a cemetery. We care about feng shui in a house. For example, the place where you lie down, your head should always stay away from the door or any window. Okay, so the last part I want to cover for interracial couple is about family. If your date is from a different culture or different race, you probably want to take family into consideration down the road, especially when you are getting serious with this person. Of course, some family are more traditional, some family are more liberal and open. Because I've heard some stories of some couples, at the end they couldn't get married because, you know, they've been dating for 2-3 years, and then finally one family member saying that, oh, we cannot accept this foreigner. Surprisingly, that's the main reason why they couldn't get married. I was so shocked after I heard that kind of story like a couple times, and I was like, wow, so you really need to take this seriously as you go further with this person. It is important if you can meet a family, great, but if not, at least, you know, you can hop on a video chat with them, you know, just to get a feel. And another potential issue about dating someone outside of your culture is you might want to take traveling into consideration. If his or her family lives very far away or overseas, or what if the family needs him or her for emergency, or if she needs to visit the family a couple times a year, then how do you know, when you're dating, that might not be a big issue, but later when you have kids, going back and forth is not an easy thing. Okay, so finally, here are 3 tips which could help you when you're dating interracially or interculturally. These tips are not just for these kinds of couples, it works in any relationship, but I think
for intercultural couples, you really have to step up in these 3 areas. Step 1 is to be more open-minded, because you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes and other person's perspectives. Like, before getting frustrated or judging somebody for doing something or saying something, ask yourself if this is because of their culture and if that's the way they grew up. So step number 2 is, once you've opened your mind to somebody else's perspective, it's to compromise a little bit. So now you know where they're coming from, you know where you're coming from, and you have to talk about it and say, like, okay, this is my culture, this is your culture. Is there somewhere where we can meet in the middle? Or are you willing to meet in the middle? Because we're pretty, like, come from like open-minded families, liberal families, so our interracial coming together wasn't too dramatic, but I know there are a lot of people out there where things can get really there can be a lot of friction. Yeah. If it's like compromising yourself or your values. It's like dating somebody from another religion. It's like, if I'm Christian and you're not, am I willing to give up my religion? When we just started dating, I think one time something was bothering me, and I couldn't remember exactly what that was, but I talked to one of my girlfriends. She had a interracial marriage, and she was telling me that the key to make a interracial marriage work is to let go of what you think is right, and then try to think from your partner's perspective. So she was saying that a lot of times you need to give up that saying that, oh, that's not right, or oh, sorry, I just cannot accept that, because that's the attitude I used to have. I was like, that's not right, I don't like that, She said that if you cannot let go, number 1, your relationship is not going to work in the long run, and number 2, you just keep pushing yourself to a dead end every time when there's a difference or there's a conflict, and you just keep pushing yourself to a point that you cannot do it anymore. A lot of times people grew from different background, different culture. That's something that we never experienced or we cannot imagine. The last one, number 3, is patience. And once you open your mind to the other person's perspective and you're willing or you're able to compromise, you've decided on something, and now you have to put it into action. And every time something comes up, instead of like becoming frustrated or feeling like negative energy, ask yourself, like, okay, take a deep breath. Is this something cultural? Do I just need to be more patient? Just take us, for example, like, your English, at least for me, is to a point where it's like good enough that we got to know each other and we can talk about a lot of things. And then sometimes I forget that that English is not your first language. When it's hard for you to say something and I'm just like, what is it? If I was in Taiwan and I'm trying to talk to people around me and I'm trying to speak Chinese, and people are like, hurry up, and I'm just like, I can't speak Chinese that well. Imagine how everybody else would feel. So be open-minded, try to compromise, and be patient. Okay, these are the things that we want to share for our relationship, and I hope you find some helpful tips from today's video. And again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Pablo, for being my English teacher and being my guest speaker today. We'll see you in our next one. 再见. Bye.